Hi everybody, this is Adrienne Joyce of Ms. Joyce Tarot, and today I just kind of wanted to just talk a little bit about spirituality, what that is, what is being spiritual, and just the whole topic of it. Um, you know, spirituality, as it's mostly talked about today, basically has to do with things that are outside of us, things, that are, I would say, maybe, for lack of a better term, supernatural or having to do with forces that are outside of humanity, spiritual guides, and that kind of thing. Um, or else it has to do with the things that we do, whether it's whether it's astrology or tarot or all kinds of things. And, back in the day, spirituality was very much associated with religion. And maybe it's the circles that I kind of, that I am in at the moment, but I don't hear the words religion and spirituality in the same sentence much anymore. But I think back in the day, that is what spirituality was associated with. And like for instance, my grandmother, she was from the South, American South. Um, she was from South Carolina, and when she was a young woman, her and her family and my grandfather, moved to the north and they settled in New Jersey, and she was just a traditional Southern woman, so she was very much steeped in the church, and she was a Baptist. And as I was growing up, she was every Sunday, you know, she was in church. But before that, as a young woman, I mean, she married young and had a child, and her husband died. When the child was young, and she was left with alone with the baby. And eventually, though, she remarried, had three more kids. She had brothers and sisters that she took care of. Those who came up from the South to live in New Jersey after she did, and she would, she kind of took care of them until they were able to get on their own. And she took care of her family. She eventually had 13 grandchildren. She used to, as a job, she used to take in washing, so she used to wash and iron clothes for other people. And I just remember her always standing up at the sink, or washing dishes, making food, making dinner. She used to take care of her grandchildren and her family. At various points in time, if things were, if we ran out hard times, we would, stay with my grandmother. I remember when my mother and father separated, my mom left, my dad, and we went to move in with grandma. And she took care of us, and other family members, have been in similar situations. So she was always taking care of people. But on Sundays, that was her day. She was there all day. Two of the regular services, 8:30 service, 11:30 service, and the prayer meeting in between. And if there was some extra activity, after the 11 o'clock service, she was there. She was part of the Nurses League, or the Nurses Union, and they would actually wear like nurses suits, nurses uniforms and little hats. And if somebody got sick during the service, or fainted or whatever happened, the Nurses League would be there to kind of take care of them, and she would be standing around the around the pews, just standing guard in case somebody got sick. And she lived to be in her 90s, and when she was getting up in age, her legs just gave out. She wasn't able to stand anymore, and like in her final days, she was bedridden. Just couldn't stand on those legs anymore. So but that was her life. And on Sundays she was in church when she could, and on Wednesdays too. Wednesdays Bible study, whatever they had going on, and she always encouraged us, her grandchildren and her children, to go to church. And she was successful in various degrees. Some of us did and some of us didn't. When I was a teenager, I did get baptized, in the Baptist church. But I also, growing up in Newark, I lived in, that was an urban inner city environment. So, like in the fourth grade, my mom put me in Catholic school because that's what people, kind of did, because, the school systems were underfunded and just not very good. So, to get a better education, people sent their kids to Catholic school. And I remember in the fourth grade, that was the first year that I went to Catholic school. And there were like a whole bunch of us, like, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 other, kids in the fourth grade who, I don't know why it was that age, but the fourth grade, that also were non-Catholics and whose parents had just put them into Catholic school for the better education. And so from the fourth grade, and then when I went to high school, also went to a Catholic school. So I was very much, I know a lot about Catholicism, straight from the horse's mouth, and after college, I became a Muslim for quite a number of years, so I was very much steeped in that religion. At that point, at this point, I don't claim any religion. I consider myself to be spiritual, whatever that means, but I don't I don't subscribe to any organized religion. But I must say that, a lot can be learned from other religions, from Catholicism. I learned a lot of things, a lot of things that I carry with me now, and just the whole idea of spirit guides and such, archangels, that whole concept of them being there to protect or watch over or guide, or something, that can help inform us, and teach us, I think I correlate that to Catholicism and what I learned there. And being, even though Baptists and Catholics are both Christian, they're a lot different in their philosophy. And from the Baptists, I took with me that, you don't really need someone to kind of, a spirit guide to guide you, so to speak, that you have direct access to Source, God, yourself. You don't need an intercessor between you in order to access the Source energy. So, I thought that was something that was important that I learned there. And with Islam, being a Muslim, I learned I think there's a lot to be learned there. I think I got the concept of the divine masculine and divine feminine from that. I think. Well, I'm not gonna go into any more about that, but yeah, I think I learned a lot about the divine masculine and feminine from Islam, and also what I picked up from there is the whole concept of synchronicity and being able to look at things that may not seem to relate to your reality, but that absolutely do. It's been a while since the last time I read the Quran, but there's a line that goes through it that says, you just read the signs, and that read the signs, and you can discover the truth. One of the thing, another thing that is said often is that you can see, and I'm paraphrasing. I know I'm paraphrasing. This is not exact quotes, but from the Quran. But if you look at the rising of the sun and the setting of the sun, that the regularity of that, that's going to happen every day, and the regularity of that is a sign. It's a sign of God. It's a sign of a divine order in the world. So, that was something very interesting and something that still carries over with me now. When we talk about astrology, for instance, I mean, that is a principle, the regularity of the day and night, and the movement of the planets and that type of thing. So, there's a lot to be learned from organized religion. And I think that the organized part is the part that really, that I don't resonate with at this point. In terms of going to a regular church, or a group of people who, or being with a group of people who gather on certain days and have certain rules and have a leader, a pope, an imam, a minister, over them. That is something that doesn't resonate with me at this time. But, um, which is not to say that it is not a good thing. I think that whatever you resonate with, um, then that is what you have to work with and come to an understanding about. Excuse me, I have to drink a little bit of water. But but um, so is the religion the spirituality, or is it something else? And when we talk about the New Age spirituality, what is that? I mean, there is a spiritual community, and is that an organized thing? Can that be an organized thing? And I choose to practice it more freely, where yes, I share beliefs with a lot of people, but I'm not tied into one. I don't tie myself to one specific group of people. Um, you know, Going back to me as a child, I learned about astrology when I was like maybe 7. When a cousin of mine, older cousin, a teenager, she asked me, what my sign, what my birthday was, and I told her. She said, "Oh, yeah, 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 you're a Taurus." I'm like, "Oh, really?" And she was like, "Yeah, yeah, she's a Leo," and I was like, "What does that mean?" And she explained that that different that there were 12 different signs, and according to your birthday, and you have different personalities based on that. And that was really fascinating to me. And she also talked to me about what ESP was and that kind of thing, and that was just really fascinating. But I don't want to make this video too long. There was that. I did tarot when I was a little bit older, and I kind of strayed away from that type of spirituality until maybe really 2011 and 2012, when I really got into other things. Like a lot of it was online, so there was a lot of information that I could find online. So I started hearing about twin flames, and kind of really, getting really absorbed into that. And I got deeper into astrology than, I had before. And also, into tarot and just general spirituality topics. Chakras, I got into crystals and that type of thing. But, are those things spiritual? When, a lot of people are into yoga, for instance. And, how many of them, a lot of people don't even know that yoga is originated as a religious practice in India, and they don't, they do the poses, and, they stretch, and, they feel good, but a lot of them don't even know what a chakra is, that yoga is a way to open and align the chakras. And, a lot of people doing yoga don't even know what a chakra is, so what is that? And, I'm into crystals and stuff like that, but, they sell crystals. Did you know that they sell crystals at Home Goods, which is, a chain in these parts that sells home decor? And this is a an amethyst stone, that I got from Home Goods. I mean, it's just huge, and this is a rose quartz. Okay, these are really big stones. And I know some spiritual shops, crystal shops, that would sell this for maybe over 100, maybe a couple of $100. I've seen stones this size selling for that. And at Home Goods, they sell them for $19.99. $25, whatever. It's so random. And these stones were clearly marked as amethyst and rose quartz. And they have others that, they're not even really labeled what kind of stone they are. They're just kind of just crystals, unmarked crystals. And they call them natural, I don't know what they call them. Maybe it's supposed to be like a paperweight or something. I don't know what this is supposed to be, but it's a crystal. And I'm using it for its energy, for its third eye energy, and for, the self-love in the case of the rose quartz. So, and I kind of think maybe that's the point. It's not the crystal, it's not the stone itself, because some people would, I'm like, oh wow, I could get this for $20, and some people were like, you paid $20 for a rock, but it's not the object, it's what you do with it. It's what you learn from it, and so you can learn about crystals and what they do and what their potential is, but if you're sitting next to it and you think it's a rock, then it's a rock, okay? But if you understand that it has the potential to give off an energy that you can tap into and learn from, then that's the point. And I think that's the point of all spirituality, It's not the religion, or but the religion is a tool. It's not the crystal. It's not the astrology. Then it's what you do with that knowledge. Any aspect, all of it, anything that I've said, anything that I haven't mentioned, you know, it's what you bring to it. And when I going back to my grandmother, and what she did, she was in service to people basically all her life. Okay, and it wasn't because she was in church. It was because that's the kind of person she was, and that's what her spirit called her to do. And in terms of being spiritual, you know, I think that we're all spiritual. We're just have different levels of awareness of that. I mean, some people go through all their lives and they have experiences, and they may not realize that what these are, their experiences that their soul has, that their body has, and their soul, which is attached or contained maybe with it or in it, that these things teach them something as a human, and that's what we humans are. We are spirits, having an experience on this earth, and so everything we do is spiritual. When we're sitting, eating, watching TV is spiritual. And it's what you get from it, or not get from it. Not to say that everything spiritual is. I mean, sometimes negative experiences teach us as well, whether we create the negative experience or the negative experience kind of comes to us, and all the good experiences as well. So spirituality is everything, I think, because we humans are because the spirit lives within us as body, in our bodies, or even without or outside of our bodies as well. Our spirit does not always contain in our bodies, but we don't always realize that the things that we are doing is spiritual. So you know how you watch a YouTube video, and after you watch it, if you don't, click the stop button, another video will pop up after it. And so that is kind of like my brain right now. It's like I'm thinking of this, and other thoughts are coming to me, but I'll have other videos as well on different topics, but I don't want to make this too long. So spirituality is what you make it. So I just kind of want to, I'm shuffling here. I just want to, pull a card to kind of sum this up, talking about spirituality and what is spirituality and how we can make the most of it. Oh, and being aware of it, and the card fell out, and that card is the Ace of Wands. Inspiration. How fitting. So the spark of inspiration that is part of each of us, we all have that spark of inspiration, and that is the soul, that is the spirit, that is who we are. We are inspiration, and inspiration is nothing unless we take the next step. It's only the first step. The next step is taking that inspiration and living your life in a way that brings that feeling, that idea, that spark to life, right? You light a match and the match burns out. if you just let it sit there. But if you take the match and you light something with it, that is what spirituality is. Lighting your life up with the knowledge and the inspiration that you get from living, from being human. And so that's my talk about spirituality today. And thanks for listening. And I will see you soon. Bye bye.